speaking as a human being. I'm here speaking as an American Muslim, as a resident of Rochester. I'm speaking as an immigrant who came to this country as a toddler in the arms of a loving mother. And I'm here today as a pediatrician. And I wanted to thank Amy. I believe that account you were reading earlier, the one about the little girl who was screaming, who was having a temper tantrum and couldn't be consoled, and then the teenage girl who had to teach others how to change the diapers of these little children because they haven't been getting the appropriate care in these facilities. I believe that was actually from the American Academy of Pediatrics. My colleagues from the American Academy of Pediatrics, our leadership, our president, Dr. Colleen Kraft, our CEO, Mark Del Monte, and my colleagues, Dr. Julie Linton, Dr. Marcia Griffin, were actually down at the border a couple of days ago. And even though I'm not representing any particular organization, I am a proud member of the American Academy of Pediatrics who's been speaking out against this cruel policy for months. And one of the reasons we speak out, as pediatricians, we may all have, our own political opinions, but for us, this is not a political issue. It is not a partisan issue. This is an issue where children are being harmed, and that's the bottom line. And I want you to know, there are people, I see my physician colleagues, I see other healthcare professionals, I want you to know that in this community of Rochester, the people who take care of your children in the clinic every day are also going to speak out when they hear of other children being harmed. We will not remain silent. And it gives me so much hope, and I believe that we will be successful because of every single person here. And so now our duty is to go out and tell other people what is happening, to tell them the truth. And I'm going to take a little bit of time just to talk a little bit about toxic stress. How many of you here, show of hands, and you don't have to have a kid to appreciate this. How many of you have ever heard a child cry? Show of hands. Yeah, pretty much everyone. It goes straight to your heart. We as human beings are biologically wired to respond to the cries of a child. And that's exactly why everyone is here. Even though we're not down at the border, we hear the cries of those children, and we are responding to them because this is unacceptable. And being a pediatrician, I see crying kids every day, every single day. It's stressful for the child, it's stressful for the parents, it's stressful for the pediatrician, but we know that stress is temporary. That stress comes out of a place of love to take care of this child. And what's most important is whenever a child is crying, even in my office, I know that there is a loving parent there with protective arms who's going to comfort that child. And that's something that's been taken away from these children. The detention of children is something that can irreparably harm their development, and the separation from their parents makes that even worse. When people experience stress, you have a rush of stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and that is so that we can protect ourselves. But that is not meant to be a permanent state of being. When these kids have been in detention, some for as long as 6 weeks or even longer, separated from their parents, they're constantly being bathed in these stress hormones, and that constant level of high alert is literally damaging their brains. We have decades of research that have shown that toxic stress inhibits the development of children. It makes them more likely to have depression, anxiety, withdrawal, anger, learning disabilities, physical problems as children. And not only that, it lasts a lifetime. This can last into adulthood, putting them at greater risk for heart disease, for cancer, for depression, for addiction. What is happening to children right now is going to affect them for a lifetime. As pediatricians, years ago when we started hearing about the Syrian crisis, I remember attending a conference where we were talking about the effects of toxic stress on these children, on refugee children. And literally, as pediatricians, we were saying, but the mitigating factor, the factor that is protective, is the fact that they're coming in the loving arms of a parent. And we cannot ever stand by when that is when they're being separated. So thank you to everyone for coming out today, and shout out to all of you and to all of the kids who are here. It's incredible to see you. We're doing this for you because we want the world to be better for you and for your generation. to all of my physician colleagues here and across the nation who are standing up for white coats for families belong together. Thank you.